To begin the solution discovery, I will bring up Microsoft InfoPath and show the different views of the form. These will be the views of the form that will be associated with the manual activities in AgilePoint Envision. What we see here is the requester view. Now let's take a look at the CFO approval view. You can see the CFO approval view now has the additional accept and reject buttons. Let's take a look at the XML schema, which includes the data elements of the form that become exposed in AgilePoint once the InfoPath form is associated with the AgilePoint process model. I will show that association in Envision later. AgilePoint BPMS leverages the information worker capabilities of Microsoft InfoPath and integrates these forms into end-to-end business process flows. AgilePoint workflow solutions based on Microsoft's InfoPath technology can be integrated directly with SharePoint and works with the end user's web browser to allow these integrated applications to be easily accessed directly from a SharePoint website. AgilePoint allows for other front-end form technologies such as ASP.NET and Windows Forms. I will now open AgilePoint Envision, the process modeling component of the AgilePoint suite that is used to build directly executable process applications, including rich workflow development capabilities for SharePoint. What we see here is a very simple budget request process for demo purposes. Keep in mind that AgilePoint is used for complete end-to-end workflow capabilities, including human and system interactivity. On the left, we can see the out-of-the-box shapes with drag and drop then configure simplicity. Let's take a quick look specifically at the Moss stencil and explore the out-of-the-box workflow development capability for SharePoint. Here we see 20+ common workflow activities for SharePoint for quickly assembling a composite application with SharePoint interactivity. To explore the InfoPath integration, I will click on the manual activities to see how the different views of the form are associated with each of the manual activities. As we wait for InfoPath to open, here we can see the requester view. I'm going to close InfoPath. Now let's take a look at the logic of this process by clicking on the multiple condition activity and see how the schema now becomes exposed and allows for easily binding from InfoPath form metadata to AgilePoint activities to build your logic. Another key feature in AgilePoint is the ease of developing the data store capabilities. Data population is used to persist application data to a database with the simplicity of drag and drop the form fields to be mapped to a database column. Now the application data is automatically persisted to the database at runtime that can later be used for reporting. In addition to data population, AgilePoint provides a data tracking feature that allows for changes to application data to be tracked. In this configuration, we have set up conditional logic to only track data changes if the amount requested is greater than $500. What you see below is the data fields that will be tracked. Now we're going to deploy the process model to the AgilePoint engine for direct execution. Now the process model is ready to be executed in SharePoint. AgilePoint allows for the flexibility to deploy the process model to the environment of your choice, for example, development, testing, or staging. AgilePoint also supports sophisticated versioning, as you can see here, that enables additional runtime adaptability such as process migration. We will demonstrate that capability later. I'm now opening SharePoint to discover the AgilePoint integration features. We have 3 web parts: a taskless web part, which is a feature-rich, taskless component for SharePoint that allows users to perform a variety of task-related functions. We have a process instance list that shows all running processes, and a process template list that shows all the process models that are deployed to the server. I will now log into SharePoint as Andy, who is the budget requester, to kick off the process. I will navigate to the budget request form library and submit the form. If you remember, in the process model, we have logic that evaluates the amount requested field. Since we are entering $30,000, the process will route to the CFO for approval. Now clicking the submit button will initiate the process. Let's reopen the process model and take a look at the logic, where the CFO approval activity has a timeout set up for 15 seconds. This functionality is great for escalation purposes if a task is not completed within the desired time span. Now in our process, we can see that the escalation occurred and the manager now has the task. The manager can see information about the process by clicking on the submit activity, such as who submitted the request. Now let's take a look at AgilePoint's runtime capability that enables supreme business agility. The feature that I'm about to demonstrate is called process migration. Process migration allows you to migrate from one running process instance to a different process instance to easily handle exceptions and changes to application functionality. This is especially valuable for long-running processes that only a model-driven framework can support. To demonstrate this functionality, let me open another instance of the budget request process in AgilePoint Envision. This version includes a new requirement to send an email to the submitter to notify them that their budget request has been approved. Now we are going to deploy this process version to AgilePoint Server. Now I will open AgilePoint Enterprise Manager to perform the process migration. AgilePoint Enterprise Manager is a system administration component of the AgilePoint BPMS suite. It is a web-based digital dashboard for system administrators to manage the system, including users, performance, and process management. I will find the current running process and suspend it so we can perform the process migration. I will click Migrate. Here we can select the process version, for example 1.2, that we want to migrate to and click OK. Here we see both the process versions along with some configuration options to customize the migration strategy. On the left is the running process. On the right includes the new email requirement. The migration strategy is now set, so click Apply. The next step will be to resume the process. This demonstrates how AgilePoint can easily facilitate runtime adaptability of running processes that is not possible today with traditional compiled code applications. As we saw here, the process has been migrated to the new process version. AgilePoint also supports other runtime functionalities such as rollback, task, rework, partial rework, reassignments, adding steps, etc. This concludes the video demonstration. For more information, visit us at www.ascentn.com or send an email to info@ascentn.com.